I think this is working. I keep wanting to say Tuesday. Happy Wednesday, besties and bosses. Let me see if I can pull us up in the group here. I've got a lot of good stuff to talk about. So to see if I can move this camera over. I feel like we're not centered well, although we might have to deal with it. Let's see. Also, my collar's flipping. We're just we're just not centered in the right place today. How is everyone doing? Where in the world are you? How is the weather for you? I have turned into such a New Yorker where I talk about the weather all the time. We had the most glorious weather over the last couple of days, and now it's dropped back to what I would expect for April. But oh my goodness, it was so happy making. This is not what we're talking about today, but I have one of those therapy lights for seasonal affect disorder. I don't have seasonal affect disorder, but I grew up in South Florida and then spent 10 years in California. When I first moved to New York City, I've been here now, 10 and a half years. The change in the amount of sunlight I got really affected me and affected my sleep and my energy. So I do think this is actually valuable for you to know as a business owner. I've been listening to quite a bit about sleep and sleep efficiency and getting that light in the morning. So I get that from my therapy light, but oh my gosh, when the sun kicks up here in the city, it is like I am supercharged. I'm like a charging lamp or something. I feel like I'm supercharged on energy. So we're back to normal weather today, but curious how it is for all of you and if you are affected by light the same way I am. But what we're going to talk about is how to stay in business and how to even scale in 2024. This is a conversation that feels like I've been talking about quite a bit, but it has been coming up for clients on calls. I've been getting DMs and questions about this, so I know it's really relevant, and we're going to dive into all the things. Before we do, so I don't forget, we have a free masterclass coming up, Words That Sell 2024. I will make sure I drop a link for this. There will be a short time replay, but this is not one we're going to turn evergreen. This is my signature masterclass where I walk you through, I have a unique process that blends mindset and strategy for creating messaging and positioning that not only gets you noticed, stops the scroll, right? Gets you noticed, gets people to pay attention to your marketing, but also gets you noticed by the right people so that you are attracting people who are right for your offers and supports selling. Something I talk about so much with clients and what I've talked about in here with marketing is I'm always interested in messaging and positioning in a marketing strategy that, of course, you're growing a big audience, but I don't care if you have 100,000 people in your audience and you can't make sales. But also, I want by the time someone's on a sales conversation with you or lands on your landing page that they already know why they want to work with you and hire you, right? You're just talking through the details ideally. Not that someone can't just land there cold, but that's what we're gonna walk through. This is one of the things I think is essential for every business, but especially right now as we're talking about what's going on in the industry and how to stay in business or scale in 2024. So I'm gonna walk through that completely for free. This class has been updated for what's working in 2024. This is a class I ran last year. We'll probably run it again next year, but we have modified it to really be specific to what you need to know for this year. And I hope you will join me because this is the stuff, the two pieces we're going to talk about in this class. This is what I see change the game for my clients. This is what I really see when a client is like, I can't pay people to hire me from, oh my gosh, I don't understand how I just had a 10K month, or oh my gosh, Kim, I cannot even believe that I said a 76K a month. So this is what we're gonna walk through. I will drop a link for that after our class here in the comments. If you're listening in the vault later, we'll make sure this is in the episode show notes for you. Okay, so let's dive in to today's topic. As always, let me know if you've got questions, reflections, anything. I wanna make sure this really serves you. That's why I chose this topic. So I think first and foremost, we just need to level set here. Everyone is not going out of business. Every business is not shutting down. The online space is not a dumpster fire. It is not too saturated for you. High ticket is not out. You do not have to have a low ticket offer. Low ticket is not out. You do not have to have a high ticket offer. What are some of the other things that that people have been freaking out about? You can still put clients. People are still investing. I actually have found we've had over the last couple of months, a 100% conversion rate on calls, and I have seen very little buyer hesitancy. And I want to reflect that here. Obviously, there's multiple reasons for that, and I've been in business for a long time. I have quite a bit of marketing that supports that, literally what we were talking about with your words that sell. So, I think there's reasons for that by the time someone gets on a call with me. But I want to reflect that just in terms of, I think even 8 months ago when we were having this conversation, there was more buyer hesitancy. I'm not seeing it in the same way that I was a little bit before. So not to say that if you're noticing that there's something wrong with you or your business, but just to help bring the stress temperature down a little bit. And I also think our online space has changed quite a bit, and there are some real things to pay attention to if you want to stay in business, not to worry monger, but frankly, if you want to stay in business, and especially if you want to set yourself up to scale, whether it's this year or next year. And this was a conversation I was having with one of my clients. I think what can happen when there are conversations around what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the industry, what's going on in the world, right? We tend to pendulum swing where we either want to consume all the negative news, right? And we just stress ourselves out, or we do that thing that I think sometimes we can do in the personal development space, which is like, I only listen to positive information and news, and we bury our head in the sand. And what I would say here is I really think we want to find the middle ground as business owners, because I think I wrote a post about this last week. What I don't want for anyone here is for you to turn into a Blockbuster. I want everyone here to be a Netflix. And what I mean by this, for any of you know what happened to Blockbuster, I'm sure we're all aging ourselves here, but there were changes in an industry, and Blockbuster refused to pay attention and to change with the tides and to adapt and to pivot. And it essentially, Blockbuster went out of business. Maybe they still have like one, don't they have, isn't there a documentary? Don't they have like one small pop-up shop, versus Netflix that was really and has continued to pay attention to what is going on in their specific industry, their niche, and continue to make adjustments and continue to stay in business and to thrive. And I think we see this, share this maybe on my podcast, but I think we see this with other companies. I think Abercrombie and Fitch is a great example of this. Emily Hirsch did a podcast episode where she more broke down Abercrombie and Fitch as a business, but they've been in business for over 100 years. And short version here is they had a pocket of time where it wasn't, I don't even think because of the industry, they were problematic and had some serious problems, but they were able to turn that around. The Abercrombie and Fitches and the Netflix of the world turn things around because they're paying attention to their business, to their industry, to their people, to what's going on, and are also willing to pay attention to what needs to be adapted or pivoted. So Alyssa is so excited to hear this. Oh, I'm so glad. So glad. And nice to see well, I can see your little icon, but it feels like I can see your face. Nice to see you. So I think, yes, everything is going to be fine if we're paying attention to certain things. And I think we also, as business owners, one of the things I'm really seeing for my clients all of my clients are staying in business, right? And many of them have been scaling. I think I shared, we had one of the best quarters in my business ever, historically in 8 years, in this first quarter of 2024. So I think that's just evidence of the health of our industry. I'm seeing many clients have the same or scale. So I also do think that the tides are changing from what was going on last year in terms of industry and economy specific challenges in the space, because I do think most businesses were impacted in some way last year. Either they saw a revenue dip sustained or didn't scale to the capacity, that they were used to in the past. And we've been talking a lot about how it's not 2020 anymore and things have changed. So all of that is true. And I'm really seeing things change, but what I'm seeing across the board with my own business and through clients and through peers as well, because I'm in multiple masterminds, peer and paid, and with business owners who are at multi 6, 7 figures and above. And what I'm just really seeing across the board, if we were to boil this down into 2 core concepts, and then I'm going to give you some specifics, is everybody who is staying in business and who is continuing to scale or is setting themselves up to scale is really showing up like a CEO. I feel like that has almost become cool language to use in our space and has lost its meaning. But I talk so much about defining and owning your role as a CEO for a reason. It's not just like, cause that sounds fucking cool in my marketing. I really just see how the business owners who are not losing their mind, right? They're not like Chicken Little with the sky is falling in, and really know how to neutrally show up and how to run their business like a business and treat their business like a business, how that is the common denominator. If we were gonna just end the live stream here, those are the 2 pieces I would say are making a difference. And with that, if we think about your role as a CEO, right? If we think about being a Netflix, if we think about being an Abercrombie and Fitch, I don't know their CEOs, but my guess is a big reason those businesses didn't go out of business and weren't a Blockbuster is their CEOs probably were really showing up to pay attention to what is going on in the market, what is going on in our industry, what is going on in our niche, what are our people telling us, what is the data telling us, what is going on with our, literally the data we're seeing in terms of what's happening revenue-wise in the business, right? I think there's again, I don't know their CEOs, but my guess is there was a lot of CEO level thinking, thought process, and people paying attention to things. And so going back to what I said at the beginning of this conversation, I don't think anyone needs to make themselves crazy and get into a negative doom spiral by just consuming a bunch of content that's telling you need to freak out and that our industry is going to crap. I just literally don't think that's true. Most of you are in the personal development space. Most of you run small businesses. Most of you run service-based businesses. People are going to continue, especially with AI, right? People are going to continue to need services from humans, and particularly for the types of services people in this group offer. Some of the ways in which we deliver services might change, but I think about myself as a business coach. I think if anything, as a one-on-one coach, my services are more needed than they were in the past. So I think we really want to be mindful of what we're making things mean, right? And where we're letting our mindset spin us out when we hear everybody's going out of business, or when you see a business that maybe you respected, you thought was super successful, and it went out of business. I think we want to be really mindful of what we make that mean about you and your business as well. There's a couple businesses that have gone, and I want to come back to some of the changes that I think are really important, because I promised you I'd share what we are and I'm not changed in my business. But I think this is helpful to reflect. There's been a couple of businesses I've seen that I thought were honestly very successful have gone out of business. I don't know them. I will not pretend to assume I know what happened. But based on some of the things I can parse together from their marketing, part of what it looks like is what we're talking about here. I have a feeling there was probably some head burying in the sand, probably some lack of CEO responsibility, even if they were running a successful business, in terms of showing up and really running their business like a business. And then there were probably, like, look, shit stuff also happens, right? And stuff happens outside of business. So I think that's the case. When we're seeing this happen in large swaths, there were probably some of the things we're going to talk about today, which are basically how to run your business like a business and how to make those adjustments as needed, that from what I can tell, maybe weren't happening. And so I think that's also, maybe that's relieving to hear, because I think when we see so many people go out of business, especially that seem successful, I think it can feel scary, because it feels like, well, if it could happen to them, it could happen to me. This is just like lightning is going to strike whoever it wants to strike. And yes, look, we can't protect against world, what is it? I can't say the word. Catastrophes, and of course, like, bad things out of everyone's control happen. And I think there's a lot we can see in that business can be quite predictable. Data can tell you quite a lot. Results make sense when you're paying attention to these things in your business, when you're paying attention to what's going on in your industry with your people. There's a lot that actually doesn't have to be a surprise. And for every business that's going out of business, there are businesses staying in business and thriving. So I always like to think, when it comes to something like this in our industry, this is normal, right? Dips in an industry are simply time for self-correction, just like dips in an economy are actually really healthy and will keep an economy healthy. And I want to hear what Alyssa has to say in a second. So one of the things I'm really encouraging clients also to think about from a mindset perspective, and I think this is the mindset that can really make all the difference for you, is yes, pay attention, right? Don't consume all the fear-mongering content, but also don't bury your head in the sand, because if you don't know what's going on, right? If I don't ever look at my bank accounts, right? Maybe I don't have to personally feel jacked up, but knowledge is power. If I can see what's going on every day, right? I just have a better ability to manage my finances, whether that's to manage my budget or to grow wealth or to stay out of debt, whatever those things are. And I lost my train of thought because I have so many things I want to say here. So I don't want you to ignore those things, but coming back to this, the mindset I'm really encouraging clients to remember is you really get to decide here. Do you want to be the CEO who sees this is normal? If I'm going to be in business for 10, 20, 30 years, not only is this normal now that our industry is having a contraction, this is going to happen again, right? That, not to be like a worry monger for that, but this will happen again in who knows when, 5 years, 10 years, 7 years, just like our economy will self-correct and be healthy, right? And we see this if we look back historically at the economy. This is what the economy does, right? It goes up and down. It moves upwards, ideally, just like your revenue and your business will upwards. But like whatever's happening with our economy now will self-correct, and it will probably happen again in 7 to 10 years. And so I think knowing that can then have you step into your mind, your role as a CEO, to see, oh, well, this is normal. But if this is normal, how can I decide to be the business owner who chooses to be the Netflix, who chooses to remember that every time there's a recession, that's when the most millionaires are made. Isn't that? I don't know if that's statistically true, but I'm pretty sure that's true. My honest mindset right now, and I think one of the reasons our business is thriving, so many clients are, is I'm like, wow, everybody's losing their mind and freaking out, and it is super saturated. But that also means for people who are willing to show up and do what it takes to essentially rise to the top, it's such a beautiful opportunity. And this is just a weeding out. This happened when I was acting. Everybody would land to LA, and everybody who like didn't care about acting because there was no barrier to entry. If you moved to LA, you were just like, I'm going to be an actor and get a headshot. But what would happen is it wasn't easy. And so time would just weed people out, and time would also weed out the people who, didn't have any acting chops or who didn't really want it all that badly. And that was very helpful because then the cream rose to the top, however that saying goes. I think the same thing's happening in our industry. And so my invitation to you, again, if you don't even listen to the rest of this, where I'm going to talk a little bit more about practical strategy, I really want to invite you to see this as this doesn't have to be a time to freak out, but I wouldn't bury your head in the sand. I would pay attention to what's going on so you have the information to equip yourself to know what decisions, what pivots, what changes, what adaptations you need to make. And I would really invite you to decide this gets to mean you rise to the top while other people weed themselves out of our space. All right, Alyssa says, so agree. Maybe AI will affect the course industry more, but not so much one-on-one personalized coaching. 1,000%. And who knows? I don't have a crystal ball, but I think the course industry, honestly, what's going to affect that more than AI, I think is what got our personal development industry into hot water in the first place. And I think that's more that there's a deliverability issue, in that people weren't delivering on things the way they said they could or would. And I think that's what fractured so much of the trust in our space. And so, yes, who knows? AI might make all the again, I might eat my words because AI is crazy, wildly intelligent and continues to grow with what it can do. So I'm sure in the next 5 to 10 years, it will be able to do things that I couldn't imagine. And I really think the course industry, the bigger piece there is that I think what people are really craving is knowing that if they're going to invest their money, that they are getting what they paid for on the other side. And I think a lot of courses just were slapped together because that was like the trendy, like that was a way to make quick money, especially during COVID. And I think just a lot of people didn't deliver what they said they could, or delivered kind of half-baked things, or didn't deliver. I always think about Amy Porterfield and Marie Forleo, whether or not you like their programs, both of them are examples of being so focused on deliverability with a course, and I just don't think that's the level of focus to deliverability we've seen. Anyway, not to digress, however, that is one thing, and then I'm going to pull up my notes here because I have a couple strategy pieces, and I promise that I would share with you, and I promise I would also share what we are personally doing and what we're not doing to stay in business and to even scale this year. But deliverability is one of the pieces, one of the things I am drilling in with all of my clients, and I'll just offer this for everyone here. I think I talk so much about messaging, marketing, sales, for a good reason. One of my clients was in town the other day and we got to have like the whole day hanging out. One of the things she said to me was, she's like, I finally get it, Kim. She's like, if you have mindset and if you have marketing, like that's the whole thing. Because it is, if you have a good mind, if you have your mindset, right? If you're showing up like a CEO and you know how to run your business like a business and you've got marketing, like the truth is, like that is what makes sales and money in your business. And if you want to stay in business in 2024 and you want to set yourself up to scale, what I think happens in our space is we talk so much about mindset, we talk so much about marketing, we talk so much about sales, we talk so much about how to make the sale and the money, and not so much about what keeps the sale, what keeps the retention, what creates word of mouth marketing, what creates a reputation for you so that you stay in business. We don't talk a lot about deliverability because it's, I mean, who wants to buy a course or who wants to listen to me talk on a live stream about deliverability when you're like, I just need to figure out how to make consistent 10K months, right? Like it's just not the topic that's super relevant. But it's relevant in that when you focus on deliverability in terms of really delivering a really excellent service or product and focusing on, I think about the people I know who are doing really well with courses, and after they create it, right, they're looking at what do my people need to get better results from this? Where do I need to update a module? Like what in this deliverability can I provide to increase someone's experience or their user experience going through that? that is something I have seen across the board for my clients who are not just sustaining, like they're continuing to scale. I had a client who, even though last year was what it was in our space, who scaled to their first $1 million. And one of the things I can tell you, because we've spent quite a bit of conversation around this in terms of their capacity, so that they didn't get past capacity, so they could focus on deliverability, because that is a big part of what drives future sales for them and what has kept them in business. And so, again, not the sexiest piece here, but I will say that is something that I just can't speak enough to. And I know that's something we're very focused on in my business. Many of you know, because I keep talking about it, I've opened up more spots for my new strategy intensive, Your Marketing Multiplied strategy intensive, which I'm loving. And I'm loving how much we're able to cover in a week to map out a holistic marketing strategy for you and tie in that messaging and positioning so you know what to go focus on to bring in those sales. And for a long time, I didn't open up as many of those because I was really wanting to make sure I didn't overbook myself again, because I did that a couple of years ago, because I really wanted to make sure that if I'm going to open up spots for anything, that would not be at the detriment to the delivery for my ongoing one-on-one clients. And I don't think that's the easiest thing for us to hear as business owners, because we can be so short-sighted where it's like, yes, but I could open up X number of intensives in my case, or slap together X program, and that'll give me some quick money now. We lack such a long-term thinking, I think, in business is maybe the better, more succinct way to say that, as opposed to, can I be willing to sacrifice some of the immediate cash injection so I can really focus on delivery now? And if anything, over deliver. I'm sure many of my one-on-one clients would say I over deliver quite a bit, and not from a burnout place or from a caretaking place. It's from the place of it feels good to over deliver when I'm able to. And I think it serves my clients, and I think it serves my retention. I think it's also smart for business, but I wouldn't do it if it didn't feel good, is the point I want to make there, before just adding something on that can make more money. And so I think that's even an example there for everyone to hear. I think we could be so quick in our space to just want to jump to the cash injection or to scaling. And again, I help my clients scale to multi-6 and 7 figures. I'm not saying those aren't great things, but if I look at the behind the scenes of people who are scaling sustainably, who are staying in business, thinking about a friend of mine who has a very healthy multi-6 figure business, she's going to launch something I know coming up. One of the conversations, she could launch it probably next month and make a bunch of money, but she's very intentionally doing some things that are focused on her deliverability and her sustainability before just jumping into launching something else. Because it's not just about a cash injection, it's about having a quality product that she's going to be able to deliver well. And I really think this is also how you stay in business. Alyssa says, which is great, by the way, everyone should do it. Oh, thank you so much for saying that. You're talking about the intensive. I appreciate the shout out on that. But also, you all should take me up on that. I feel like it is the stupidest deal in terms of investment for what you get and what you can turn that investment into. So honestly, everybody here should take me up on that intensive, because I'm really good at what I do. And one of the things we're going to talk about here that we do in the intensive, I think one of the things that I am really focusing on with clients as well to stay in business and to scale is to make sure everybody understands where their results are coming from, that they have a holistic marketing strategy and sales process, and that we are really taking a look at updating and improving messaging and positioning, because what I do not see working and what I'm not having people do is just put out more stuff. I feel like I am a broken record, and I say this probably on every live stream in a different way recently. But I do think in 2020, the strategy was a little bit like just spray out as much content as possible, just get as much stuff out there. I think we were all trying to figure out what the F to do. We were also all in lockdown. I think it was a very different time. That is just simply not working anymore. And it's just not. And I don't know a better way to say it, but like, if your content, if your marketing strategy isn't dialed in, and this is not to be a fear monger, but this is just I don't know how else to be transparent around this. If you're not focusing on your messaging, if you're not focusing on quality over quantity, and I do think in the past, I probably have live streams talking about quantity over quality. In fact, I'm sure I do. But it is quality over quantity right now. And if you don't have a holistic marketing strategy, and what I mean by that is a strategy where you're really clear on your customer journey, how you're bringing in the traffic for that, and then how to convert that on the back end through your sales process. it is going to be tough to stay in business, not because you're not good enough or your offer is not good enough, but that is where it's really important to pay attention to what's going on in our space, and where I don't want people to bury their head in the sand. The truth is, it is saturated. The truth is, we had an influx of people come into our space, some of who I'm so grateful here because we have more talented people and service providers, and some of whom will weed themselves out, not because they're not good enough, but because they realize business isn't for them, or they don't want to be an entrepreneur, or they were just like trying to figure out how to get rich quick scheme. Like, I think there's a lot of that as well. But because of that, until people weed themselves out, right, we just have more humans in the online space. And everybody wants to blame things on the algorithm. It's not the algorithm. We have to think about the algorithm and the online space like a highway. And we used to have a highway that went from, I don't know, Florida to New York City. And there were like a good amount of cars on it. And every year more and more cars got on. What happened in 2020 is it's like everybody from every country got onto a one-lane highway, and everybody's trying to get to the same destination. And not a lot of people have been getting off the off-ramps, right? And so we are just in a traffic jam. So that's what's happening in the online space, the best way I can describe it. So that's why sometimes things feel like they're moving slowly, right? And as this goes on, we're just going to see more and more people going to the emergency lane, right? Going into the breakdown lane, going into the off-ramp, and traffic will start to pick up. But that's what's happening in the online space. And so if you just add more cars or more content or more marketing, and it's just sort of like a broke down car, but you're like, I just want to get as much stuff out there, that's not going to actually move you further along. This is where you want to have a quality engine, right? We want to have a quality car. We want to make sure we're really focused on the strategy so that you can really notice the pocket in the traffic that's opening up, so you can kind of cut into that lane. This is like the silliest analogy ever. Can you tell I miss driving? But right, the more focused you are then on one destination, one lane, doing it well, having a really premium vehicle that you're taking care of, and just zipping in where the pockets of opportunity open up, the more you're going to succeed right now. And so going past my, unless this is a great analogy, okay, I'm glad that landed. But so the algorithm doesn't hate you. I think that's like the biggest thing. People are like, the algorithm hates me, or it's because of the algorithm. It's not because of the algorithm. The algorithm, I said this to someone on, I think an intensive the other day, the algorithm is simply a truth serum. It's a harsh truth serum sometimes, but the algorithm is a truth serum that tells you if your marketing is landing with your people and what they want to hear, and if it's converting. I don't know how else to say it. So all of that to say is, one of the things I am really talking about with clients is taking a look at that. And I think being really clear on this is where stepping into your CEO role is so valuable, because it's tough to take a look at. It's one thing to map out, the holistic strategy and to get clear on how you can do less better. It's another to have the neutral mindset of a CEO that's then willing to test some things and to look at, great, how is this performing? Great, is this working or not working? How can I tell if I'm just saying something isn't working because I'm spinning out, or I have expectations for things to perform faster than I expect them to? Or is this not working because it's simply not working, and I just need to be honest that there's probably an opportunity for me to improve some of what I'm doing, because it's just not what my people are wanting or needing from me. It's just not enough, like you're not enough, or it's not good enough, but it's not enough in terms of communicating the problem you solve, communicating the value you deliver, communicating the results that are possible for your people, to help someone to understand why it is they should pay attention to you, or to take that next step with you, or to make that investment. And I think that all sounds very clear, but I think this is why I have a job as a one-on-one coach. This is why clients work with me for 4 or 5 years. It's not because for 4 or 5 years we're reinventing the wheel and making strategy really complicated. Yes, for a lot of people, we've reworked things because we're paying attention to what's going on in the industry, but we're talking mostly small micro adjustments, not like burning a business down and creating something different. But a big reason I have a job, and a big part of what I'm supporting clients with ongoing, is one, I can be a neutral perspective when they bring data to me, when they bring, hey, here's what's not working in my business. Is this really not working? Or is this something I need to adjust? Or is this something that is more mindset, because I'm not in it with them the same time? This is what I bring to my coach, right? I can't see the forest for the trees in my own business. It's so helpful to have that outside perspective that isn't emotionally in it the same way. But also, so often it's just tough sometimes when you've poured your heart and soul into something Like, let's all be honest. Who hasn't like created the post or the reel or the podcast or the live stream where you're like, I just poured everything into this. This is my baby. This means so much. And then you hear crickets from it. It's very tough, I think, sometimes to take out the emotionality, to not take that personally, to not make that mean something about you, to be able to look at that really neutrally like a CEO, and then to be able to look at what needs to be adjusted to have that work for you as a piece of marketing or to help sell for you. Alyssa, you have to let me know, and anybody else who's live, let me know if that lands. So just to normalize, like, I need support with this as well. It's so much easier for me to do this with clients. I also have been coaching for 10 years and in business for 8, supporting clients with this. I also have so much practice, right? I'm really great at stepping into my role as a CEO because I have a lot of practice doing that. And I'm really practiced at getting to neutral and being able to analyze those things to even know what to bring to my coach. So no one's wrong if things spin them out, but this is a lot of what I'm looking at with clients, because I really am seeing how just the business owner who's able to keep their cool, to keep their head, who's willing to map out their strategy, and willing to work your strategy in terms of, I feel like I probably have said this in the past. I feel like a couple of years ago, the conversation was, and I think that this is the thing in business, things just change, right? This is, don't be a Blockbuster, be a Netflix. I don't even think what I probably said a couple of years ago was wrong. I just simply think things have changed in our space. I think I probably talked a lot about setting and forgetting things, right? And just doing the same thing over and over again, and that being more the consistency that brings in results, because that was true. That's just simply no longer the truth. I think now if you're doing the same thing over and over again and not getting results, yes, results take time. We have to let a strategy play out long enough. But if the data is telling you it's not moving the needle forward at all, right? That is not something we want to keep doing more of, because it's going to keep bringing you more of nothing. And I don't think we're in a place where we just want to set and forget things anymore. I don't know if we ever really were, but I just think we needed a lot less to get noticed on that traffic highway, right? If there's all those cars, if before there were 10 cars and now there's thousands of cars clogging that highway, right? We just needed less to get noticed and to be able to make it to the off-ramp or to get to our destination or for someone to see us. So I think it is simply true that we do have to pay attention more in a way that we just didn't have to in the past. And so I'm really just seeing for my clients, the clients who are able to embrace that's simply running a business. That is treating your business like a business. That is not, you suck, you're bad, you're not cut out for business, there's something wrong with your offer. It's just simply the game we're playing, and who are excited about that. And if not excited, at least neutral. Those are the clients, all my clients are amazing. They're all doing amazing. But those are the clients I'm seeing having an easier time. My clients who really have a lot of resistance around that, or who stop every time they're not getting what they want, to internalize it, to make themselves wrong, to think that means they suck at marketing, or they're bad at business, or they suck as a business owner, or they're not cut out for this, or they can't get the results they want. That's fine. That's why I have a job again. I'm here for it. But that means we have to spend a lot of time, right, help supporting them to get to the place where they're neutral enough to take a look at what is actually going to move their business forward right now, to keep them in business or to help them scale. And so I really just see, like, if we were, and I hope you're hearing this is me not saying it's only Instagram or it's only Facebook groups that is working, or it's only high ticket, or it's only low ticket. It's none of that. It's these foundational pieces of strategy, treating your business like a business, and thinking like a CEO, and getting the support, quite honestly, with that I think have always been the case. I just think 2 or 3 years ago, even a year, well, not last year, but 2 years ago and 3 years ago, I just think we could get away with a lot more bullshit, quite honestly. I do think you could get away with less deliverability because people hadn't been burned in the same way. And so you could kind of have a crap offer and people would buy it. You could slap something together and people would buy it because people weren't quite as discerning. I do think you could have crappier marketing and not have a clear customer journey. And not crappy like your marketing is crappy. I just mean, look, if I think about, I'll use myself as an example. I think I've always had great content. I've always had a clear customer journey and marketing strategy. One of the things I focus on the most is refining my messaging, upping my content game, upping my marketing strategy, and getting way more strategic with the actions we're taking. So my stuff wasn't crappy in the past, but I could get away with doing far less and not paying attention because there were fewer cars on the highway. And also, it wouldn't have made sense a couple of years ago if there's fewer cars on the highway. It wouldn't have made sense to spend a lot of effort doing more than was necessary to bring in sales and revenue to sustain the business, right? That actually would not have been a strategic play. That just would have been costly where it is now. I'm hoping this is landing for y'all. Alyssa says, agree, getting back to neutral and evaluating data is key. It is like the whole thing. Also, who's a hair expert? My hair always flips out on the side. I have squirrel. I don't, this is why I don't like seeing myself on the camera. I'm like, how do I do my hair differently? Okay, so that's real talk as we're going through here. So that's big picture. What I would say, if you want to stay in business, if you want to scale this year, I think in some ways this can almost sound too simple, but I hope it does, because what I really want everyone to hear is that what I'm not changing in my business and what the majority of my clients are not changing. Some of them are simply because that's what makes sense for them in their business, but I'm not changing my business model, right? I don't believe one-on-one is going anywhere. I really don't think one-on-one is going anywhere at all. I also think for most of you, unless you are really at the top of the high ticket pricing, where maybe some of the 2020 and some of the maybe more problematic influences in our space, for lack of a better way to describe it, maybe encouraged you to charge premium to a way that is possibly past what the market can bear. Yes, some of those clients I'm coaching around, like, do we want to look at being more competitively priced? Do we want to look at not as like you're not worth it or you're not valuable if you lower your rates, but do we want to take a look at, you know, just what actually makes sense to have a sustainable business? Or are you okay with only being a service provider that is for the like top 1% of the industry? Because I do think people are still paying high ticket where there's a great value exchange in that delivery on the back end. I don't think anymore, there's probably a small segment of the population, I think we are past the place where people are just like, oh, if it's super crazy expensive with a cool name and I can be in their proximity, I will just pay any kind of money. Who cares? Like, that shows that I trust myself and believe in myself, and then I'm going to manifest more money as a result. I do think that was never a thing that worked, but I think that is something that really got abused a couple of years ago. So I think if you're like way up on the high ticket side of things, and even that, I have a client who I've encouraged to do that because that's what makes sense for the business they have. So even there, point being is, I'm not changing my business model. I'm not changing my price point. Most of my clients are not. Some of my clients I've encouraged to increase their rates. Some I've encouraged to lower their rates based on their business and what their business is telling them, what the data is telling them, what their people are telling them, right? Your business will always tell you the right answer. But what I want you to hear from that is not, should you change your rates or change your business model? It's that unless your business is giving you that information and telling you there's a problem with that, you probably don't have a problem to solve for. And that's what I want you to hear from this conversation, because when we're talking about, oh my gosh, so many businesses are going out of business, and then people are like, well, high ticket's out, low ticket is in, I just made all of my money from a $27 program, right? It's just very easy to think like, I must be fucking things up and I need to do that. Or in reverse, right? Where they're saying like $27 items are out and you have to sell high ticket, right? I think we've had that narrative in our space as well, where if you're the person who's monetizing something really well that's lower ticket, you feel like you have to now jump to high ticket. And I just want you to see neither is true. What is true is, this is always going to be the case, is what is true for you and your business, what makes sense for the model you want to run, what is the strategy that helps support you to monetize that, and then what is your audience telling you, what is your business telling you? It still comes back to that. So those are things I'm not changing. I'm just going through my list here because I made a list of like, what am I changing? What am I not changing? What are we focusing on? Alyssa says, have to hop off her client call. I look forward to catching the left on the replay. She says, oh, your hair looks cute. Thank you for saying that, Alyssa. Thanks for my pep talk on my hair. But thank you. I will see you on the replay. And thanks for hanging with me. All right, let me come back here. So what we have done though, and what we have changed again is, y'all know we cut my podcast. I changed that mostly because I want to have a different conversation with y'all, and I'll drop the link to that. We talked about why I made those changes, but I have also changed, for example, the platform creating content for. We are creating content for Instagram now instead of Facebook groups. So we have made some marketing shifts. So those are things we have shift, but those have been very strategic shifts. That is not because I now think Instagram is the easiest place to grow and that I think Facebook groups are dead. We're sitting here in a Facebook group hanging out, right? That's not because I think podcasting doesn't work anymore. I talked about that on the live stream where we talked about this. I think podcasting is a great platform for many people. I love podcasting. It served us very well. So this is where I always want to be so mindful, because it's so easy in our space for it just to become all about a platform or all about one kind of strategy. And instead, what I'm focusing on, what I'm encouraging clients on, is to get clear on what is the one strategy or one or two strategies. What is the one platform you're focused on? What are you, and when I say focus on a platform that you're focused on creating content for, growing, prioritizing. And then what is the 1 to 2 offers you're focused on selling? Most of you, it's probably going to be one, right? Like that is the focus, but it's only a one-on-one offer, or it's only high ticket or only low ticket. It's more, how can you get really clear and focused, where maybe in the past it was easier to do a bunch of different things or to be on a bunch of different platforms. I feel like I've said this like a broken record as well. That all really was much easier a couple of years ago. That was not wrong if you were doing it that way then. But now, if you want to stay in business and you want to do so where it feels sustainable and you're not burning yourself out or really having a ton of team expenses because you're trying to be everywhere, I would say the focus has been for us on how can we do less better, but how can we get really, really dialed in on one offer, one funnel, one platform, and then looking at the one strategy, right? The one platform, the one funnel, the one offer. With each piece of that, really studying the data and just looking incrementally at 1 to 2 degree shifts we can make to improve things. And how can we get everything performing better? That has been the game changer for us. I think that's why we had such a great quarter. That has been the game changer for my clients as well, and just a lot of what we have been working on. And then again, just the mindset to support that, because I know I did a Instagram story on this the other day, and this is something I talk about with so many of my clients. I think it is just really fascinating when we're really focused. All of your stuff tends to come to the surface. I think we can often hide through trying to do all the different things, right? I mean, it is just the easy thing to do, or even like doing the same thing over and over again and not looking at it and not looking at how do we optimize this or what's going on or how do we improve this. I think it's just a way for, if you're scared of failure, if you're scared of people coming after you, if you're scared of rejection, if you're scared of success, right? All of the things we can get scared of, I think it's just a very easy place to hide. And so I think it is actually quite confronting to say, let's treat your business like a business. Let's pick a few things and do them better and look at what's going on to refine that. Let's really get things working for you. I think just to normalize, right? That means you have to confront some of the things where it's like, oh, it's sticky to be a beginner again, or it's sticky to see that maybe I'm not perfect at everything, or it's sticky to see I've been doing all of this stuff that wasn't working, or that was a waste of time, or that was a distraction, or that was costing my business a lot of money. Or it's sticky to see, oh, all I have to do are these 2 things and I can get big results and I haven't been doing them. Or if I do them, now I'm suddenly going to get more visible, or I'm going to have to deal with what that means when my business does have more success, right? I think we forget all of the mindset that can come up with doing that kind of work. So I really want to be aware of, I know in many ways this probably sounds overly simple, and I want to just normalize that, yes, it's simple, but it doesn't always mean it's easy. And again, this is why I have a job. And so that is the other part of what I'm just seeing through all of my clients, the clients that are really doing well and setting themselves up to scale. They're just also so willing to bring that to a coaching call. And again, this is what I'm bringing to my coach, right? Where I'm like, oh, isn't this fascinating? I thought I got rid of this mindset thing, which isn't a thing. Like I said this on a client call the other day. I'm like, it's not new level, new devil. It's new level, same devil. That bitch just always comes back around every time we hit an up level. But I'm always fascinated by that in myself. And that's what I bring to my coach as well, where it's like, oh, I think it's a strategy thing where I'm refining something, and like, oh, isn't it interesting to notice this mindset part coming up that I need to address so that I can then show up to simply execute on what my business needs. So that's not anything new. I just think when we're in a season where it's easier to make sales and it's less crowded, right? The highway's less crowded. It's just easier to hide behind things, right? It's easier to avoid our mindset. I think it's easier to avoid noticing what isn't working in our business. I think it's easier to have a bunch of stuff that's kind of, I don't even want to say that's just not working as well. It's not have to look at things because you're getting enough sales, you're getting enough revenue, right? It's just easier to avoid all of that. And I think that is what is, so none of this is new. That's always been the work in business, I believe, to stay in business and to scale. I just think it's more apparent now, and you can't ignore it the way maybe you could a couple of years ago, right? We can't afford to bury our heads in the sand where maybe you could in 2020. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm gonna turn my timer off because I know I always set a timer because I have a client call after this, and otherwise I want to talk with y'all for forever. But I am gonna just see if we have any questions, and then I love how I gave myself so many notes to share with you because I want everyone to stay in business and I want everyone to scale if that is your desire. And we got through a fraction of this. This seems to be, I need to learn how to keep these more concise for you. I'm hoping this is really valuable for you, but I'm just going to give a quick summary here for you. So the online space is not dying. Everyone's not going out of business. High ticket is not out. Low ticket is not out. What were the other ones we talked about at the beginning? I'm trying to remember here. People are still buying. I am really seeing that people are still scaling. People are still thriving. There's enough room for you. I honestly think that we did have a lot of buyer hesitancy last year. I think that is going down. I cannot say for sure because I also see through my business and clients' businesses how we've been very intentional on focusing on everything we've been talking about here with the messaging, with the positioning, with the marketing strategy to help minimize that hesitancy, so that by the time someone is on a sales call or on your landing page, right, you've really built that trust with your offer, with your product, with you, and you've helped someone build trust with themselves that they're going to be able to get what they need from your product or service. So at least what I'm seeing, maybe a better way to frame that is, I think buyer hesitancy, I think it's gone down a bit, but I also am really seeing the evidence of when you're focused on your strategy in that way and addressing the right problems and addressing, hey, if buyer hesitancy is up, hey, if it is more saturated, it's that clogged highway, if I focus on what's needed to stand out, to get noticed, to build that trust on both sides, right? People need to trust you, but they also need to trust themselves to be able to make that investment. They need to trust that they can actually be someone who gets a result from your program, right? If we address all of these things and we're doing less better in terms of we're really drilling in on our marketing strategy, we have that clear customer journey, we're selling really clearly and directly, I am seeing then the buying hesitancy go down, and I am actually seeing quite a surge between my business and clients' businesses right now. Now, we are a small segment of the online space, I get that, but I hope that's helpful evidence, and also helpful evidence to see what is behind seeing that surge or kind of things pick back up. The other thing I would just say here, and I think everything I've been saying is quite, like, these are all business basics, right? Like, one of the notes I have here is, so many of my clients it's like marketing. When I say marketing, it's like building relationships, building and caring about building genuine relationships, looking at data, right? When I talk about treat your business like a business, I think sometimes that makes us think like you need an MBA. And I think data is one of those words that can be scary, like, because it sounds like very mathy. We're talking about things everybody in this group knows how to do. We're talking about, can you build genuine relationships with people? Can you pay attention to what your business is telling you is working and not working, and make some educated guesses on what the things are you need to adjust? And then can you manage your mind or get support to manage your mind so you can do so neutrally to keep making those changes? And I think that is more than anything making the biggest difference. It's just that is just not what most people are doing, or most people are missing one small component there that can make a huge difference. My other note here was like, we're looking at where we can make small shifts to make huge results. So that is maybe also helpful to see. What I'm really noticing for clients is when they bring something to me, for almost everyone, we're not like burning everything down and starting over, unless it's someone who's coming in to build a new business with me. We're looking at making really small micro adjustments, and that's leading to really big results on the other side. For most people, it's small little tweaks, or it's adding in something that was maybe missing from your customer journey or from your sales process. Sometimes it's as simple as, you haven't been selling clearly and directly enough, and how do we get clear on the language for that and help you on the mindset side to have the confidence to do that, to increase sales, right? And again, that's maybe easier said than done, but a lot of times it's like one small area that needs some work unless we're building a whole business from the ground up. And then that deliverability piece is huge. I cannot speak enough to that. All right, I'm not going to try to read through my 45 other notes for you, but I hope that that was valuable for you, just to hear some insights in terms of, everyone, we can just like take a deep sigh, a deep breath, and also understand that it is like we are in a traffic jam online. And so I think don't make yourself crazy either. If you're in a traffic jam and that means you might show up to your destination 10 minutes late, you're not like, oh my God, I suck as a human and my car is a piece of shit. You're like, no, I'm in a traffic jam. And so that is why I might be 10 minutes late. So same here. If things are maybe taking a little bit longer or a little bit slower, or it's feeling like you have to just be a little bit more intentional or work a little, not like harder, like burnout, but do less better with your marketing to get noticed and to bring in leads, I would invite you, instead of being like, I'm a piece of shit, there's something wrong with my business, the online space sucks, the algorithm sucks, I would just think like, oh, our industry just has a traffic jam right now. Of course that's happening. How can I like that's not the problem I need to solve. I need to figure out, how do I stay in this traffic jam, get noticed in this traffic jam, right? Stay in this and make this work until I can be out where there's clear road and I can just zoom, because all these other people are going to pull over or they're going to get in the off ramp, and the people who are left are going to be the ones who then get to put the pedal down. And if it's safe to drive 100 miles an hour, we'll do so and get really huge results. So I hope that is valuable for you. If you have questions, leave them in the comments for me. A reminder to join me for the free masterclass we have coming up, Words That Sell 2024. Again, I have updated my signature class here to really speak to more of what is working this year to get you noticed, to get you known, to get you paid. We're going to walk through my my unique framework for messaging. I don't know anybody who teaches messaging this way that does combine mindset and strategy, so that you can not only have a message and positioning that is going to stop the scroll, that's going to get you noticed by the right people. Remember, we want the right people paying attention. I do not care about you getting a gazillion like viral reels unless those people are the right people who want to buy what you have to sell, as well as the mindset component that's going to help you embody a message so that you are communicating in a way confidently so that people actually pay attention to it as well, because that combo is what is going to increase your sales, and that is also how you stay in business and scale in 2024. So I'm really excited for that class. I will drop a link for that below, and then as always, you hear me talk about the strategy intensive or my work with my clients. If you are curious about what it would look like to work together and you want someone who can support you really well on both the mindset and strategy side of things, who knows how to support you to think and show up like a CEO and to get to neutral, as well as how to map out a holistic marketing strategy, sales process, get clear on your business model, get clear on your pricing, learn how to sell that effectively, as well as being able to look at you or look with you at the data and to see what is and isn't working, what micro adjustments do you need to make to be able to, yes, stay in business, but to scale. Come on, we all want to make more money this year. I think I'm one of the only coaches, if not the only coach at my level, with my level of experience, that has been doing this for as long as I have with the client results I do, who actually still offers intensives and who still has one-on-one spots opening up. There's a few other people I know who do what I do, but they have a wait list that's like 400 people. So if that's something you want support with, we are opening up some one-on-one spots in May and June. They have been going very quickly, and I am opening up Fridays for those strategy intensives. I will drop a link for a free coaching consultation below. If you're listening in the vault, we'll make sure that that link is in the show notes for you. I would love to connect with you. I would love to support you. And yeah, everybody, take a deep sigh, take a deep breath. Everything is going to be just okay. This gets to be, in my opinion, let's all decide we're going to be the Netflix of the industry. This gets to be your season to thrive for those of you who decide to intentionally show up, to work your strategy, to keep your mind on or your head on straight. This really is what I think is going to be the season that sets so many people up to scale astronomically. I really do think that. I think it's going to weed some people out of our space, and not in a bad way, in the way that everybody gets to find where they're meant to land. And then I think it's really going to allow the rest of you to really be set up for exponential success. All right, love you all so much. Thank you for having this conversation. I'll be back next week. Bye.